demand that is necessary for survival.
Well, I agree. I 100% agree.
All right, let's watch
anger
this other hawk.
at those who haven't gotten vaccinated. That 25% can cause a lot of damage, and they are.
To whom? To the 25%.
It's not true.
No, it's not true.
ICU capabilities are already fucking distraught in this country. We have less ICU capabilities than comparable other OECD nations in this country, even before this fucking pandemic. So no, they're not just fucking dying on their own. These stupid hogs are not dying alone, squealing like little fucking piggies as they try to gasp for breath before they fucking die, okay? That's not how this shit works, unfortunately. They take up ICU beds, they exhaust the already strained resources, and they kill other people as a consequence of
Yes, that's the fucking
It is not about actually achieving more vaccines. It's about shifting blame away from Joe Biden being a failure of president.
No, it's not.
Let's be real about this. Joe Biden is a failed president.
No, fuck
He's a failed
you.
president. He failed in Afghanistan, and he blames everybody else.
What
has
the
failed
hell
on
does
the
this have to do about COVID? Let's talk about COVID.
And he blames everybody else. And he has failed on COVID, and so he blames everybody else.
Well,
and what this necessitates is Joe Biden making policy moves that are unlikely to result in any sort of serious improvement for the American people, but are simply designed to shift blame away from himself. So just like the Americans stuck in Afghanistan eventually said the administration are there because they want to be there, right? It's their
Cut through the rhetoric. Let's get to the details.
fault that they are stuck there, not our fault for running the worst designed surrender in
Okay, what does this have to do with COVID?
modern American history.
What?
Nope.
No,
It's
I'm
really
pausing.
not about that. It's about the Americans stuck there. It's their fault. In the same way, Joe Biden's failure to prevent the vaccine mandates and the mask mandates from being promulgated in blue areas and therefore shutting down the economy, his unwillingness to recognize when we have reached the end of the pandemic and it has now just become endemic, his failures there have now necessitated that he take this extremely harsh action that is unlikely to ever be implemented because, frankly, no one is going to comply. So, we'll get into the policy of this in just 1 second and why I say that this thing is never going to be implemented on a wide scale, why it is likely to be struck down, why it's almost
It's not going to be struck down. It's constitutional, okay? And there's precedent for this.
unenforceable, even were it not to be struck down. But last night, Joe Biden made the most authoritarian move that I have seen
It's not the most authoritarian move. There's precedent for this.
in the last 10, 15,
doing a
20
good job.
years of American politics. I'm having a hard time pegging it exactly because we've seen authoritarian moves before. Very often, it turns out, Democratic presidents have a bad habit of saying, I don't have the power to do X, and then 5 seconds later, they just do it. So you remember Barack Obama said over and over and over, I don't have the power to simply stop enforcing immigration law, and then he just did it. And you'll remember that Joe Biden said, I don't have the power to issue an eviction moratorium via the Centers for Disease Control, and then he just did it. Well, you'll recall that this administration has over and over and over said they do not have the power to issue any sort of vaccine mandate. Here's Joe Biden back in December of last year saying he didn't agree with the idea of a federal vaccine mandate. This was after the election.
No, I don't think it should be mandatory. I wouldn't demand to be mandatory, but I would do everything in my power. Just like I don't think masks have to be made mandatory nationwide. I'll do everything in my power as the President of the United States to encourage people to do the right thing, and when they do it, demonstrate that it matters.
Okay, so
Wait, move aside real quick. Let me sit down. Okay.
Well, this is above my pay grade a little bit.
It's almost like pandemics are a dynamic situation where new variants come about as a consequence of not reaching herd immunity quick enough, and then the unvaccinated create new variants. And that new variant is called Delta, which is a significantly higher viral load and spreads way faster than the vanilla COVID that we know. Okay? This is before 670,000 Americans have died thus far when Joe Biden is saying this sort of stuff. And obviously, he's capable of changing his fucking mind to the appropriate circumstances and and what they necessitate. Okay? The Delta variant has been ripping through the country, so much so that right now, when we do actually have fucking vaccines, there are more than 3 times the number of new COVID cases a fucking week than last year at this exact same time. Of course, there's going to be new restrictions and new protocols when the situation changes. If tomorrow there's a new fucking variant that literally just kills you on sight, is this dumbass going to say, I can't believe that Joe Biden is issuing another lockdown when he said he doesn't want to do another lockdown? It's like, okay, well, everyone's fucking dying then. And then that's psychotic. Of course they're going to deal with the new variant with the severity that it demands, that it needs.
Question. I think this is important.
What?
A lot of the policy that's instituted by the federal government is as a result of the overwhelmed ICUs, right? And our inability to be able to function as a system.
Yes, and sometimes, and also on top of that, the government has a responsibility to be authoritarian when people are fucking stupid and don't want to protect themselves, such as like drunk driving laws, such as traffic laws, such as numerous other things like OSHA restrictions that require you to fucking wear a hard hat when you're at the construction yard. These are all taking away your seatbelts. These are all taking away your freedoms. Your freedom to not wear a fucking seatbelt. Your freedom to not want to fucking put on a hard hat when you're at a construction. Your freedom to drive drunk. You can't do that. Okay? Because the government is primarily responsible with taking care of you. Okay? So when you're too stupid to take care of yourself and you're too much of a fucking hog to recognize that you're putting your life in danger, the government is supposed to come in and say, you can't do that, it's illegal. Okay? Now, libertarians say that's tyranny, that's the nanny state. We should be smart enough to fucking know this. But we're not. And then we take all of those laws that we've already created for granted. When seatbelts were first made mandatory, libertarians got mad at that too. Okay? It's just how it is. Libertarians are too fucking stupid, and no one should take them seriously. Okay? That's how it works.
So that was back in December. And then in July, his own press secretary, Jen Psaki, said, don't worry, there's not going to be a federal vaccine mandate. We're not even thinking about that. Liars, liars, liars. Because again, as soon as things got bad, it was time for Joe Biden to shift blame. And again, that's what this policy...
There's not shifting blame.
As things get bad...
It's time for him to... What?
Yes, when things get bad or worse, yes, the goal of an adequate presidency is to take steps to ensure that there are more vaccinated people. I've been an advocate for vaccinating a larger percentage of the population through mandates for a very long time. Okay, he's not shifting the blame from anyone other than the people who are responsible for it.
Policy is really about, his entire policy here is about shifting blame from himself and his failures of policy to the unvaccinated.
This whole video is about
here's Jen
shifting
Psaki
narrative.
back in July saying no vaccine mandate.
Perhaps
Shifting rhetoric.
the federal government should step in and issue
They were wrong not to fucking gear up for a vaccine mandate back then because they thought that Americans would be smart enough to want to take the vaccine on their own. And guess what? They were not, okay? Partially because of people like Ben Shapiro, okay? Ben Shapiro routinely fucking, dude, this is like, I'm gonna ban you for like literally just showing me this, okay? Just a day off, take a day off for thinking that was important enough for me to see some fucking subreddit not allowing memes from the past 20 years to be featured. Ben Shapiro was routinely fucking creating vaccine hesitancy creating vaccine hesitancy amongst people that watch him by offering them some kind of fucking out. 15-month subscribers, 20-month subscribers. If you've been in here for a year, you know better than to fucking simp for whoever the guest is and be like, offer the guest something to drink or whatever the fuck. When I've already done that, I will permanently ban you, especially if I'm in the middle of a fucking rant. You parasocial simp fuck. Literally, go outside immediately. Turn off the fucking stream. Go outside. Walk outside and touch grass and maybe even eat some grass, okay? Seriously, I'm sick and tired of motherfuckers doing this. I can't deal with this. Too many micromanagers, dude.
mandates? And if not, are you putting the needs of unvaccinated people ahead of the needs of vaccinated people?
Well, I think the question here, one, that's not the role of the federal government. That is the role that institutions, private sector entities, and others may take. That certainly is appropriate.
That literally is not the role of the federal government, says Jen Psaki. Well, until yesterday, at which point the Biden...
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. What is the last part that she said?
Role of the federal government. That is the role that institutions, private sector entities, and others may take. That certainly is appropriate.
That literally is not...
So she said that the private sector is supposed to, take these measures. Now, one, I hate this like anti-federalist American attitude that we have, but that's precisely what they're doing. They are forcing the private sector to take the appropriate measures. So Ben Shapiro should be excited about this. It's not a federal mandate. Joe Biden wasn't like, I'm the God King and we're going to do this, Jack. They're saying that OSHA is forcing private corporations to engage in this. Which now, there's also still an out for all these pussies that are like still terrified that they're going to turn gay when they take the vaccine. Okay?
They should embrace that. Let me tell you, it's great.
Yeah. And that is that you can just get weekly fucking COVID tests.
And
what's up?
And blowjobs quicker than an Uber Eats order. I'm telling you.
At a certain fucking point, you just want to spread COVID. Like you're arguing for COVID. You're like, I want to spread more COVID. It's my constitutionally protected freedom to be able to spread more COVID. I'm just going to do that. Okay?
Not the role of the federal government, says Jen Psaki. Well, until yesterday, at which point the Biden administration seeking to shift blame away from Afghanistan and focus away from Afghanistan, and seeking to shift blame away from the economic stagnation, shifted away from the administration, decided the people you really should hate are your fellow Americans. Those are the people you should hate. The unvaccinated who live next door to you. Those are the people you should hate. Okay,
Dude, no wonder I'm so sorry. No wonder you are so pissed off all the time. This is I don't know how this is why.
Yeah, your neighbor that thinks that, Joe Biden is a demonic pedophile who participated in the January 6th insurrection and got away with it. He doesn't hate you. Okay? He definitely doesn't hate you. How dare you hate your fucking neighbor for putting your family at risk by just not getting the fucking vaccine and taking up ICU capabilities? How dare you? That's so fucked up. I can't believe Joe Biden is making you hate your neighbor that literally fantasizes about murdering you. Fucked up of Joe Biden to do this.
This brings me back to a point that I've made 1 million times at this point. The worried in America, the people who are deeply worried about...
Yeah, we're really not hearing a lot from Ben Shapiro's doctor wife since the pandemic began. And Ben is also vaccinated himself, and he's like pro-vaccines. He's talked about how everyone should get vaccinated, but he hates that the government is... the government's forcing people to get vaccinated. Surprising that his doctor wife is no longer featured as prominently in his broadcast as she once was.
COVID at this point are almost entirely the vaccinated, which is insane. Once you're vaccinated, you should not be worried about whether your neighbor is unvaccinated. It makes no difference to you.
Yes, it does.
This notion that you should be walking around in abject fear because your neighbor is unvaccinated is totally crazy.
You can't go to the ICU. Because the beds are filled with people with COVID, Ben. That's the problem, is the system is overwhelmed, you stupid fuck. That's why we care. We wouldn't give a shit if our neighbor didn't get the vaccine if they weren't overburdening the system. That's the issue, Ben. I don't care if unvaccinated Jack doesn't want to get the vaccine. If the problem is, the reason I care is because if I get critically injured, I can't go have an ICU bed. Because somebody is choking on a ventilator because they didn't want to get a vaccine. That is the issue. It's overrunning the system. That's why we have to mandate a vaccine, because the system cannot handle it. It breaks the system.
Also, there's the alternative is you just get vaccinated. Like, it's not like the alternative is like you have to fucking drag your ball sack through hot coals, okay? It's not like the end of the fucking world, It's the end of the world for you, maybe, if you think that the vaccine is going to kill you or cause you to be infertile, but...
And it's so stupid because... Oh, God.
It is unmoored from scientific reality. First of all, the vaccinated are capable of infecting other people. Second of all, once you're vaccinated, your chances of hospitalization or death are extraordinarily low because, again, the vaccines are incredibly effective.
Yes.
You want to make people hesitant about the vaccine? Keep telling them that even after you're vaccinated, The unvaccinated might infect you and you might die.
That's not what people are saying, you fucking idiot. Also, like, every argument that Ben has for abortion, which is like fucking silly as shit, could actually be appropriate in the vaccination conversation. Because in that situation, it's actually appropriate. It's not like some fucking fetus, but it's like a full-blown human being, and it's also contagious. What? Oh.
But again, it is not about consistency. It is not about efficacy. It is not about actually achieving more vaccines. Right? All this is about shifting blame away from Joe Biden being a failure.
No, it's not.
Of a president.
Okay.
The economic stagnation that we are seeing is not.
I just don't fucking get it. Wait, this is narrative shifting, is what it is. You're trying to establish some sort of narrative to distract from the main issue, which is our hospitals are overwhelmed, and we can't fix that without everybody getting vaccinated. That's the issue.
Not, in fact, the result of the Delta variant. The economic stagnation that we are seeing is a pure result of bad policy being made in blue states and by the federal government. It's about the media scaring the living hell out of people so they don't want to go to stores. It's about people in blue states saying you can't go back to work because even if you're vaccinated, you might get sick again. There is a reason, I keep repeating this because it's true, there is a reason that all of the best states in America, in terms of unemployment rate.
The worst part about Ben Shapiro is that, like, he literally recognizes and also admits in the same conversation that the vaccines are effective. Okay? He's like, yeah, it keeps you out of the hospital. Okay, you fucking idiot. Now you know. Like, that's literally the truth. That's the reason why we want everybody to be fucking vaccinated. So they don't have to go to the fucking hospital. Even if they do get COVID.
Because even if you're vaccinated, you might get sick again. There is a reason, I keep repeating this because it's true, there is a reason that all of the best states in America, in terms of unemployment rate, are red, and all of the worst states in America...
Wait. What does it have to do with anything? What is he talking about?
No, the reason why he's saying this, first of all, he's lying, okay? And the reason why he has to fucking say this is because... The reason why he has to say this is because, like, he can't talk about the real truth, which is that, like, red states are a burden on the American economy in comparison to blue states. Blue states pay more in taxes. They pay more back to the federal government. Red states run at a deficit. Like, all that stuff is...
Blue states support red states.
Yeah, blue states end up supporting the red states.
Because,
But obviously he doesn't want to fucking mention that because then that would defeat his narrative. So he has to, like, come up with, like, other dumbass fucking takes like, oh, well, red states have less problems or lower unemployment rates. It's like, really, that's really interesting that you're saying that, except you know, when we look at, like, the actual facts that matter, like quality of life and whatnot, red states are fucking losing. So who cares?
Oh, that makes so much sense. I saw this on TikTok.
In terms of unemployment rate, are blue. There is a reason for that. It is because a huge swath of this country has been...
Also, I was about to say, yeah, you know what else red states are fucking excelling in? Having the most hospitalized people, dude. California.
Look at Oregon.
Except Florida. What? Huh? Unemployment doesn't matter? Pointing to low unemployment rates is completely fucking meaningless, okay? It's completely meaningless with respect to, like, states being more productive or with respect to anything, really. The reason why he's adding that is the same exact fucking argument that Ben Shapiro likes to make when he's talking about America's healthcare. American healthcare is dog shit. With a top-down approach, healthcare in America is like number 37 with respect to the rest of the fucking OECD nations, okay? It's terrible. We ration healthcare off of wealth, and we don't have enough fucking doctors. We don't have enough ICU capabilities. Rural areas are getting crushed even before the fucking pandemic. But the reality is, like, Ben Shapiro will turn around and say some shit like, oh, well, America's #1 in leading medical innovation. We're #1 in brain cancer treatments. It's like, okay, that's one fucking fact that you cherry picked. Okay? You cherry picked that one data point to make it seem as though America's excelling in all matter of all types of fucking healthcare. We don't. We're fucking dog shit at healthcare. He's just lying to you. And the same goes for unemployment. Unemployment in this conversation is completely irrelevant. We're talking about vaccinations, and we're talking about protecting people from fucking dying to a disease that they can be protected by just getting vaccinated. Like, oh, well, you know, unemployment rates are lower in red states. So what? It is completely irrelevant. You can't really rank healthcare. It's kind of liberal of you. I fucked your mom. Okay?
Oh, not again.
And I ranked her too against all the other chatters' moms. How is that for liberalism?
Not another one. Not another one. God damn it. What, did she enjoy it too? I mean, fuck. Let me guess. Yeah, she did.
I've been listening to you for a while, and I recently got my mom to start listening. She doesn't normally like politics. It's too complicated for her, but she really enjoys the way you talk and explain stuff. She doesn't agree with you on everything, but appreciates you. Thank you for helping her. Oh, God. Right after I said I fucked your mom. It's not great. Bad timing, chatter. Bad timing. Okay.
Oh, let's keep watching. This is so good. I'm so thoroughly enjoying. What's love got to do with it?
At least 3 of every 5 cases, hospitalizations, or deaths at this point are in red states. The majority of new cases and hospitalizations have been in red states since June, and the majority of deaths have been in red states since mid-July. You'll notice that the red and blue lines starting to bend backwards towards the middle, meaning that blue states have been making up a greater density of new cases and deaths in the past weeks. But they should be, because there are a fuckload more people living in blue states than there are in red. And also, there are a fuckload of anti-vaxxers in blue states as well, still. The real data point that you need to look at is not how blue states and red states are handling it, but instead how unvaccinated people are handling the pandemic versus the vaccinated. And despite the fact that blue states often have a higher population and a higher population density, they're fucking destroying the pandemic with respect to, like, number of deaths.
Completely disconnected from the reality of the science, disconnected from the reality of the statistics. And so Joe Biden is now saying, you need to blame your neighbor. Don't blame me for the lockdowns. Don't blame me for the mandates. Blame your neighbor. It's their fault that I'm doing this. Or maybe it's your fault for doing it. Maybe it's your fault for doing it. You can see the blame shifting in real time. It's ugly, and it is un-American. It's un-American to say, I have to take this policy against you because your fellow Americans are doing something bad. So now I'm taking this policy and I'm doing it against all of you.
Dude, he's blaming the unvaccinated for fucking dying and taking up ICU beds. And he's right. Why are you fucking crying about it? You already literally admitted it in the first, like, 10 seconds where it's like, you know who it hurts? You know who not being vaccinated hurts? The unvaccinated who are dying in hospitals. Okay, so when fucking Joe Biden's like, hey, you're dying in hospitals, and that's taking up all of the fucking resources from other people that like need to use the hospitals as well. It's like, I can't believe he's saying that like the people that want to die are dying, and that's wrong. He shouldn't be saying that. It's always like, I've said this already yesterday, but it's like conservatives are like fucking kids, where you tell a kid not to touch the fucking hot pan, and the kid's like, shut up, libtard, I'm gonna touch this hot pan regardless. And then, I burned my hand. And then you go, well, I told you not to touch the fucking pan. And then the kid goes, well, I don't care. I'm going to touch it again, actually. I'm going to put my face on the pan now because you told me you're making fun of me for hurting myself. Well, it's like, you're doing that. You're doing that to yourself. What the fuck is wrong with you? Stop doing it to yourself.
Oh.
And you should hate your neighbor, right? It's the Full Metal Jacket style governance, right? Somebody in your barracks didn't do the proper thing, so now all of you have to do push-ups. And later, you can go over to that guy, and you can put some soap in a bed sheet, and you can beat the living hell out of him. That is Joe Biden's style of governance.
Oh
it is, in fact, un-American. And it's evidence that he is a failure as both a president and as a decent human being with the kind of power that he's attempting to wield. In 1 second, we'll get to Joe Biden's ridiculous and horrifying speech, frankly, the stuff that he was saying yesterday.
Horrifying.
Oh my God.
Is there a low for Biden? There is no floor. There really is not. I thought that the worst speech that I'd heard was the speech that he gave like last week upon the withdrawal from Afghanistan, where he championed himself and pat himself on the back while hundreds of Americans were still stuck.
Yeah, it's not even a federal vaccine mandate. It's fucking $14,000 fine per employee if the employer doesn't mandate it themselves, which is obviously prohibitively expensive and de facto mandate. Conservatives are screeching over the fucking free market principles. Yep. It's also the most like patchwork American way of dealing with a fucking problem. Instead of just being like, dude, I'm the government, shut the fuck up and get vaccinated. I'm literally going to come to your house at gunpoint and vaccinate you if you don't. That's what other countries would do if it got to this fucking point.
Behind enemy lines. Fast forward 1 week, and now he's calling his fellow Americans, treating them as his subjects. They're not citizens anymore. They are just the people that he gets to order around. And if they don't do what he says, he will force them to do what he says.
Oh.
And it is dictatorial, authoritarian stuff. It really is amazing. Last night, Joe Biden wanders out to the microphone about 5 o'clock in the afternoon because, again, he has to make that early bird special over at Denny's.
Oh my.
And he proceeds to yell at you. He's Grandpa Simpson yelling at the clouds. He's going to yell at you if you're unvaccinated. And you know what? He's going to yell at you if you're vaccinated too, because the fact is, if you were just madder at your neighbor, if you were more angry at the person who lives next door to you, then that would fix the country. So he starts off by talking about how frustrated he is with the people who are still not vaccinated. Right? Again, this is a free country, or it used to be.
Oh my.
And I'm not angry at the people.
It's no longer a free country because the government is saying that it's now an OSHA violation if I don't want to get vaccinated.
Who aren't vaccinated. I'm not. Again, I am very pro-vaccine. I've told everybody in my office I think they ought to get the vaccine. Many of them didn't listen. That is their business. That doesn't make me angry because I'm not a tyrant. Joe Biden is a tyrant. So it makes him super angry when people don't listen to him, and the people that it impacts are the people who didn't listen to him.
I don't care about my workplace conditions and what happens to my workers and their families. So Joe Biden, who's the president, should also operate in a similar mentality. Well, guess what? When you're the fucking federal government, you have an additional set of responsibilities, you dumb idiot. And those responsibilities revolve around making sure that our fucking exhausted hospital resources are not being wasted on dumb hogs, including your fucking stupid employees, apparently, who have not gotten vaccinated.
What about my freedom to get adequate health care?
Again, this would be one thing if the unvaccinated were actually posing a danger to the people who are vaccinated. They are not.
They literally are, and Ben is personally avoiding that, purposely avoiding that to draw an argument. Okay? If you just fucking died quietly, listen, I've said this before and I will repeat it. If you don't want to get vaccinated, put a fucking DNR tattoo on your chest, okay? You don't want to get vaccinated, no ICU for you when you get COVID. Sorry. Then I'm fine. Just fucking die on your own then. If you don't get vaccinated, you get in a car crash, you can still get treated. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying. But if you don't get vaccinated and you're caught with COVID, okay, no ICU bed for you.
Yeah, God gave you an immune system.
Just turn them around. Turn them around and say, hey, Jesus was holding the wheel for you up until this moment. Let Jesus heal you. Take some ivermectin. Give him some fucking ivermectin. Throw some ivermectin at them. Okay, not that horse paste either, just a human one. And be like, let God sort it out. Just fucking die. You want to die? Just die. Okay? Pray that shit. Pray Corona away, baby. Let's go. I'm on board. You're trolling? No, I'm not. No, I am not even fucking remotely kidding, dude. You're delusional? Why? Hey, pussy. Why the fuck do you all of a sudden trust medical science when push comes to shove and you do have a genuine fear of death from fucking COVID? I thought COVID wasn't that serious. What's up, pussy? So it is serious. Then perhaps you should get a fucking dumbass vaccine. I love these motherfuckers. Like, all of a sudden, they remember the fear of death. In a situation where there's a triage situation, okay? Once the hospital is, like, near capacity, then die. Then you die. Sorry. That's just what it is. You literally did not fucking... You did not want to take the precautions. And for people who say, like, well, what about obesity? What about obesity? What about obesity? Like, obesity is a significantly more complicated matter. Is there a fucking free vaccine for obesity? Because I will take it. I'll take it right now. I'll take it 3 times this week. Obesity also is not a fucking communicable disease. Not contagious.
Wish there was like a...
They want personal autonomy, but not the consequences of it. Of course. Of course, dude.
Go back. Scroll up.
What?
What does that say? Oh, never mind. I talked to an ER doctor. Can I tell you what he told me? This was a week ago.
All right, go ahead.
I talked to an ER. He's an ER physician at OHSU, Oregon Health Science, a big hospital in the state of Oregon. He told me, he said, this was a few weeks back, or I think it was a couple weeks ago, that on Friday of that week, that the state of Oregon will be out of ICU beds. And what they do, this is what he told me, what they do is they have to determine on a parameter of statistics, they have to choose who gets the ventilator. If without just based on a certain parameter of statistics, irregardless of age, race, ethnicity, anything. That's how they have to make a decision. Who has the best chance of survival based on a levels? I'm not sure what those levels are. I didn't go into detail, but that's how they determine who gets the ventilators or not when they get into those particular situations. Is that what they call it? Triage? Is that what they call it?
Triage is when the hospital resources are exhausted, so they start making decisions on who they should save over others.
Yeah, it's triage. Yeah, but he said it's like based on just your ability to survive.
Yeah.
He also told me he is not said the people dying from COVID are under the age of that he's admitting to the ICU are under the age of 60, most of them, and they're all unvaccinated. He said he hasn't admitted a vaccinated person in 6 or 7 months. They're all unvaccinated, and he told me the other day he lost somebody that was 30 years old. The only comorbidity, smoking. A smoker. That's the only. There's a lot of smokers, 30 years old. These aren't just 75, 80-year-old people that are dying. They're young people. They're people that they thought they were healthy enough to not get admitted to the ICU. Right? He goes to my gym. I work out with him. So
Give the
From the front
life-saving
line.
health care for the wealthy. What?
he's fucking shredded too. That's huge.
Imagine blaming everyone but yourself for not taking life-saving medicine. Give the life-saving health care for the wealthy. What? I'm confused. So here's the other part of this. Okay, because there is one real element in the 25% of the population that's not getting vaccinated. And that is gig economy workers and workers that are unable to go because there isn't a vaccination spot within a 5-mile radius. They can't take time off to get on a fucking bus. There's the undocumented workers that are having a hard time getting access to the vaccine. Okay. Worried that some places ask when they shouldn't for your ID and stuff like that. Despite the fact that vaccines are free, it's not the logistics of arriving at a fucking vaccine area. If you're living in a rural area and if you're fucking working all the time, like that's not free. All of a sudden you got a bunch of different problems and complications. Now, one aspect of the OSHA regulation also comes along with the time off that you get when you do get the vaccine. Okay? Some places are asking for ID. You don't need to give ID to get vaccinated, for the record. You should not need to give an ID to get vaccinated. So there is a real problem with, like, you know, some marginalized communities, especially black and brown communities, that have been less hesitant to take the vaccine than white communities overall, but like still have a lower vaccination rate than white communities, despite the fact that that number is changing. If you look at the data, there are certainly people that would still get the vaccine, but the hesitancy that they have is a consequence of like how they can't take fucking time off, or because they can't reach a vaccine station. Okay? So those need to be addressed. A vaccine being free doesn't mean shit if you don't have reliable transportation. Yes, this is true. So all of that needs to be addressed. It certainly needs to be addressed. I believe that the government should take more steps in addressing those needs. But having said that, there's also the other side of this. The people that are refusing to get it because they're fucking lazy or because they're fearful. Fuck those people. Sorry. They should be fucking forced to get the vaccine, and a lot of them will be forced to now get the vaccine. I don't think Uber offers free rides anymore. I think they used to, but I don't know if they still are. All right?
Ubers right now. It's so hard to get an Uber.
Yeah.
God damn. It's like shit. Better off walking. That's all I'm saying.
Anyway. This sums it up. Yeah. Liberty means being a big baby and never having to do anything you don't want to do, even if it hurts or kills other people. Google Gaga, said Thomas Jefferson. Do you want to know another thing Thomas Jefferson said?
What? Well,
At the top of the hour, there's a 6-second ad break. Yeah. A contractual obligation brought upon by our Lord and Savior Jeffrey Bezos at Amazon.
Thomas Jefferson says some fucked up shit. To be honest with you.
He also said if you no longer want to see those ads, though, you can subscribe for $5, or you can subscribe for free by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. You get one free Prime subscription a month.
You stopped doing accents. What happened to you?
Yeah. Well, Thomas Jefferson also didn't know that it was September in September, so it's not even $5. It's actually $4.
Oh shit! Wow.
Yeah.
What a deal.
Yeah. But he wants you to have an ad-free broadcasting experience. He also said you can use an ad block or a VPN. But Twitch Prime is free if you have an Amazon Prime account.
Damn, he was really ahead of his time.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Thomas Jefferson.
It's crazy.
God damn. True capitalist.
Oh, their Uber is still offering free rides? Good.
But that mixed message was completely elided here because, again, this is not about anything other than Joe Biden is a damned coward who wants to shift the blame for his own failures onto the backs of other Americans.
Failures.
Here he is.
What failures?
Many of us are frustrated.
Yeah, the failure is that, like, Americans are fucking rugged individualist hogs that, like, operate on pure spite and selfish, entitled attitudes and refuse to take a fucking vaccine because they're also sucked into a pool of misinformation.
Yes.
And Joe Biden's trying to deal with that fucking chaotic situation. That's the issue here. That's what's going on here. For the record, I think early on in the process there were IDs necessary, but I don't believe that they have that anymore.
With the nearly 80 million Americans
Thank you, Orange Bolus, for the 5 years.
who are still not vaccinated, even though the vaccine is safe, effective, and free.
Okay, how about the Americans
I'm
who
a
have natural
hominid
immunity?
for the 10.
There's studies after studies showing that natural immunity is more durable than vaccine immunity. And yet there are no
No, that's not true.
There's one study, right?
Wait, first of all, that's inconsistent. Natural immunity is an inconsistent fucking argument because the amount of antibodies that you develop are completely fucking inconsistent. Okay? So that is idiotic to just like rely on that. Okay? That's one. Two, those very same studies show that like if you're vaccinated and also have gotten COVID, then you have a higher, then you're less likely to fucking get COVID. So natural immunity paired up with double dosage is actually the highest percentage. So even if you're fucking, even if you've gotten antibodies because you got COVID early on, you should still get the vaccine. Of course, the other side of the natural immunity argument is that we routinely fail to mention that, like, you know, if you died, then it doesn't matter. You can't be participating in the natural immunity studies because you got COVID and you fucking died. And the whole point of this vaccination process is so that you don't die even if you get COVID. How many booster shots will you have to take? I don't fucking know. I'll take it all. I don't give a shit, dude. Boost me up, motherfucker, all day, every day. Num, 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 num.
provisions in Joe Biden's proposed rule for people who have antibodies, for people who already have natural immunity. None, because this isn't about the science. It's about yelling at people. He continues along these lines. He just kept hammering this over and over. If you're unvaccinated, it's your fault I'm doing this. It's your fault that I'm hurting everybody.
Yes.
Right, exactly. It's not my...
That's the point.
I mean, it kind of is like...
It is your fault. That's why we have to do this. If you would just go do it willingly, we wouldn't have to.
Yeah, Professor J, thank you for the 5 years.
My fault I'm hurting you. It's your fault
that
I'm hurting you.
It is.
Here's Joe Biden.
Thank you, Joe.
The vast majority of Americans are doing the right thing.
Thank you, Joe.
Nearly 3/4 of the eligible have gotten at least one shot,
Thank you, Joe.
but 1/4 has not gotten any. That's nearly 80 million Americans not vaccinated. And a country as large as ours, that's 25% minority. That 25% can cause a lot of damage, and they are.
To whom? To whom?
To the hospitals.
To the 25%.
No, wrong.
Right here.
Wrong.
Which Joe Biden
To the-
freely admits.
To the 25% and the ICUs that are completely overwhelmed and overburdened. That's who they're causing harm to, Ben. That's the point. That is the whole point. The reason why we have to mandate it is for that reason, Ben. That's the whole point.
This is how you know that he's a dishonest, lying sack of...
No, Ben, you are a dishonest sack of shit, okay? Not Big Balls Biden, who's doing the right thing, mandating vaccine, which is completely within his authority and power to do so, as outlined in the Constitution in the Commerce Clause.
This is how you know it, right? Because when he says that they're causing a lot of damage, again, the rule of externalities, right, which is where government very often comes into play, is I can wave my fist around until it hits you in the face. And that is the general rule of externalities. But what Joe Biden is now saying is that he gets to intervene if I wave my fist around and it hits
No, OSHA gets to intervene.
me in the face. If you're unvaccinated You are not a danger to the vaccinated. You
Yes,
know
you
who
are.
knows this? Joe Biden, who said it last night.
I want to emphasize that the vaccines provide very strong protection from severe illness from COVID-19. I know there's a lot of confusion and misinformation, but the world's leading scientists confirm that if you are fully vaccinated, your risk of severe illness from COVID-19 is very low. In fact, based on available data from the summer, only 1 out of every 160,000 fully vaccinated Americans was hospitalized for COVID per day.
So what the hell are you trying to yell at people for?
Because they are the sick people, the 25% are overwhelming the system, Ben. That's the point. 25% of the people are doing all the damage to themselves, which is, as a result, impacting and overloading the system. That's the point, Ben. That's the issue. That's the whole problem here. I don't understand why people go on this thing like we're just doing it because we want your life to be safe. No, we want the people's lives to be saved that pick up. I'm losing my train of thought. Pick up what I'm trying to say.
It's just like, here's the thing, okay?
I've gone over it too many times.
If you avoid the main issue, then you can craft a narrative where it's like, just let people die, lol. I don't understand. What the fuck's wrong with you, Joe Biden? Like, just let people die. That's precisely why he's not talking about the ICU capabilities, because that fact alone destroys his argument. If someone were to bring that up, then he would turn around and say, well, actually, what about obesity? As though obesity is like a fucking immediate killer and not like a slow and crippling and painful experience that ultimately causes your demise later in life when you die. Okay? So that's the real conversation. The reason why he's not bringing that up, though, is because he's trying to build a fucking dumbass argument. That's it. Like, he knows it better. He knows it. His wife is a fucking doctor.
I just hate how it's this idea that, look, if we lived in a world where COVID wasn't overwhelming the system and we were able to get people, whoever wanted to get vaccinated could get vaccinated and do as he's suggesting, and it wasn't overwhelming the system, then there would not be a vaccine mandate.
I disagree. I think
You disagree?
Yes, I think the government still has a responsibility.
Well, they have a legal right.
Because it doesn't just end there. You're taking out fucking workers from the workforce. Like, the government is supposed to do everything it fucking can to stop people from, dying for preventable shit. That's the reason why we have fucking seatbelt laws. You know what I mean? That's it. That's it. That's the only reason why we have seatbelt laws. That's the only reason why we have fucking traffic laws. It's not just that it's overwhelming hospitals, but it also is literally because one, it causes mutations when there's less vaccinated people, or when there's more unvaccinated people. There's still likelihood to have mutations.
Yes,
and
the whole root of it is the overwhelming and overburdening of the system.
And for the record, yeah, the reason why the flu shot isn't mandated, despite the fact that it kills 30,000 people a year,
and
is because it only kills 30,000 people a year. Shut up, bitch. You've been coughing the entire time.
Are you kidding me? Not like that. That was a COVID cough.
Yeah, totally. Well, I just got tested like yesterday.
Oh,
so.
I got tested before then. I got a PCR and a rapid test.
Yeah, so suck it. DC Baller, thank you for the 5 years.
All right, I will.
I don't understand. I'm vaccinated. Again, I do not give... You can ask the people in my office. As soon as I was 2 weeks out from my final vaccination, I came into the office and people had been masking up, right? Many of the people in the office had been masking because I was concerned about me getting it and transmitting to my parents who are 65. Wasn't particularly worried about me getting sick, but I was worried about transmitting to my parents. And then I came in and people said, do you want us to wear the mask? I said, first of all, I never told you had to wear the mask, but if you want to take it off, I really don't care now. I really don't care because it doesn't matter to me. Joe Biden is saying it shouldn't matter to you. Once you are vaccinated, you are safe. But you should still be angry at the unvaccinated.
No, you're not.
Right? And he just continues along these lines. It makes no sense. Here he is saying another incoherent, nonsensical thing.
For the vast majority of you who've gotten vaccinated, I understand your anger at those who haven't gotten vaccinated.
Thank you.
I understand the anxiety about getting a breakthrough case.
Well,
but as the science makes clear, If you're fully vaccinated, you're highly protected from severe illness.
True.
Even if you get COVID-19. In fact, recent data indicates there is only one confirmed positive case per 5,000 fully vaccinated Americans per day. You're as safe as possible. And we're doing everything we can to keep it that way. Keep it that way. Keep you safe.
Okay, so this old man is telling you that you're safe once you're vaccinated. But then he says this. He says, now you're not safe. So on the one hand, you're safe because you got vaccinated. On the other hand,
the vaccine protects you from severe illness, yes. But what it does, the 25% of the population, eligible population that's not getting vaccinated, what? I'm making the same point over and over again because it's true. What other point is there to make? It's the true point, it's the correct point, and he keeps making the same dumb argument. And so I'm making the same rebuttal. What's the difference? He's making the same fucking stupid argument over and over again. So I'm countering that with the same correct argument.
you're unsafe. Now, let me ask, why is he saying you're unsafe? The reason he's saying you're unsafe is because he wants the lockdowns. He wants the mandates. He wants those things so he can justify his failed economic policies, so he can justify a turn away from your focus on Afghanistan, and so that he can justify you being angry, not at him, but at somebody else. Be mad at anybody, just not Joe Biden. This is the Biden doctrine in a nutshell. Be angry at everybody except for Joe Biden. How's this for a title? Ben Shapiro Show subscriber destroys like button with clicks and logic.
Oh,
I'd watch
shut
that.
the
Make
fuck
it happen,
up.
gang.
God, dude, that was painful. Oh, he's a Weasley little liar, dude.
Still lying to his audience.
Still lying to it. That whole video. Oh.